Right, welcome everybody to the latest episode of Swan TV. I am delighted today to be joined by Cassandra Andrews, who refers to herself on LinkedIn as a global motivation junkie, which I love. I thought, how do I introduce Cassandra? I know, I'll just see how she refers to herself as on LinkedIn, because, you know, you have a number of different hats. So, welcome, Cassandra. Talk to me. Do you want to explain what you mean by global motivation junkie?
Hello, James. Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. I am, as you know, passionate about motivation and employee engagement, and I'm trying to make my business global. So hence the global bit. I've got some clients in the States, which is where I am headed. I hope to have clients in the wonderful Norfolk and the US as well.
And so how have the last 4 months been? Or as we were saying just before we started, 19 weeks as it's getting towards now. How has it been?
19 weeks. It's all I'm going to say.
Mixed bag.
I think in terms of business, has there ever been a time when people want to talk about motivation of their employees more? Probably not. And so that's great. And I have a number of clients I've still been working with, but also done quite a lot of serving, which I think is really important at this time. On a personal level, I live alone, so 19 weeks by myself has been a complete journey. I've had a lot of personal growth, had to face a lot of demons, but I'm still here and still smiling.
Always smiling. So 19 weeks, and on your own is a long time. Now we won't go into the demon part of it, but unless you want to. But what positives would you say you've got from that? What have you learned about yourself that maybe you didn't know before that you think, you know what, that is going to help me once I get out of this little bubble and back into the real world?
That's a really good question, because I've been reflecting on this a lot lately, and I keep talking about COVID being the gift that keeps on giving. It's the only way I can get through it. And for me, actually, it's made me realise that when I'm old, it's okay if I'm alone, because I can do it by myself. It's also made me realise that actually I really like my own company. And I moved house 2 days after Boris said you can't leave your house and lockdown had started. So I was in a new house as well, and there was a number of challenges with that, because obviously nobody would come and do anything or plumb anything in. So it's a good job I wasn't going networking, actually, because if people could have smelt me with no washing machine. So COVID keeps on giving. See, I told you. So I've never been as fit as I am now. Without doubt, I've done all sorts of things. Like I now meditate religiously. I've started a morning routine following a book that I read, The Miracle Morning. So I've been doing that for a good 3 months. So I've learned a lot about myself in a really good, positive way.
Well, you talk a lot about extroverts and introverts, and we are both clearly extroverts.
Do you think?
Well, do you think? I'm not too sure. We'll let the viewers decide. But you've made a point there which is very interesting about enjoying your own company. And I very much enjoy my own company, and I speak to a lot of extroverts that enjoy their own company. And it's not really a trait that a lot of people that are maybe introverts would associate with us extroverts.
Yeah.
Why, in your view, and obviously during this time, it's probably been more important than ever before, having to spend time on your own. Why do you think, as extroverts, that time on our own is so important and so key?
I think it's really hard being an extrovert, because, you know, you're kind of out there all the time, aren't you? I think it's hard to kind of talk more generally, but certainly I know about myself, as you know and have used the tool that I use, Motivational Maps. If I think about what motivates me, yes, I might be an extrovert, but my extreme first motivator is around freedom and autonomy, and not being told what to do. And actually I'm really happy kind of just doing my own thing, without doubt. So I think there's a really nice balance between the two. And I'm an only child as well, so I'm used to having to entertain myself as a child, you know. I had to, so I've kind of grown up with it. I think the thing for me that was missing, and we were talking just before we came on air about kind of networking, and You know, and I used to do tons of it, especially in Norfolk.
No, you didn't.
And now I find the thought of networking quite challenging, but the thing that's been missing, I'm really highly kinesthetic, like off the scale kinesthetic, when you do kind of the rep test. And I've just missed like physical contact with people. So I can make you laugh, actually, if you want. So my coach, my wonderful coach, Bear this morning, said to me, as I'm on this journey and having kind of these sessions, he said, you know, because I live in Cromer now, and so the thing that's kept me very grounded is being able to go to the beach every day, because it's a sensory explosion, isn't it? And I know you're a Sheringham boy.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll skip past that.
And so going to the beach, and you kind of have the wind in your hair and the rain, and you can paddle, and you can really feel. So in terms of sensory, so he said, why don't you pick up a pebble? So I have this pebble on my beach from the beach that probably for the first 10 weeks of lockdown, I just did nothing but hold on my desk. I can't tell you the number of Zoom calls I was on where I was kind of caressing the pebble because I just needed to touch something. So your listeners can make of that what they will.
But it's true, though, isn't it? It's just, and you know, for people like us, that is one of the biggest things that we've missed. Is that connection with people, and you know, it's starting to come back a little bit now. And I've seen a few people and stuff. It's nice, but like you say, at the same time, you can't walk into a room and give everyone a hug.
No.
You know, that's not doable as of yet. So it's a big thing to struggle with.
That's, for me, that's really challenging, and I know you're a big hugger too.
Absolutely.
It just feels like I'm being teased. That yes, you can see people, but you can't touch them.
Cool. And I suppose on the motivational maps topic and situation, what have you seen from, you know, people that you've spoken to as far as the biggest challenges are concerned with people motivating themselves? For working from home, they may have never worked from home before. You know, this might be the first time they've ever done it, 5 days a week. What have you seen to be the general trends as far as struggles people have had with that?
That's really interesting, James, because I've remapped a lot of people who are kind of clients that said, oh, can we just see where we're at the moment? And I've talked a lot, actually, on a number of kind of different forums around how you're kind of creating unintentionally 3 kind of groups of people. So those people that perhaps are working at home, those that have carried on on site, and those people that potentially have been furloughed, and these kind of unintentional silos that you're creating, and how they've all got different needs. Now we're kind of mixing them back up again, aren't we? So that's you know, a whole other set of needs.
Absolutely.
Certainly some of the biggest things that I've noticed is, without doubt, and this will come as no surprise, security and belonging it is obviously much more prevalent for people now. And for those people working at home especially, I think that sense of belonging and community, which I know when we kind of looked at your team, was something that was really important, and that you don't need a map to see that from kind of all. Was that a fly?
There's a fly. We've got a special guest.
Someone's arrived.
Sorry.
So you know, it's pretty obvious that relationships and that sense of connection and belonging at Indigo Swan is really super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you create that when people are working at home? And I know from our conversations previously that you've done a tremendous job of that. So, you know, my hat's off to you. A massive work.
Yeah, it's hard though. I look at it as a bit of a roller coaster. So, you know, some weeks you think, oh my God, yeah, I'm doing amazingly. Engagement's great. And then some weeks people have a tough week and they feel really disconnected.
Yeah.
And, you know, you then have to work hard to get those people sort of back and re-engage again, and then you go up again. And it's very much, I find it, you know, the last 19 weeks, as you said, it's a big roller coaster. It's a big roller coaster.
A COVID coaster, as I heard somebody say last week.
A COVID coaster, there you go. That is what we use. It's a COVID coaster. And, you know, you try different things and stuff. But like I say,
it's challenging. And do you know, one of the things I think is really interesting, so I've said that my top motivators around freedom and autonomy. And so those people that were working at home and had all this freedom and autonomy, now if we're asking them to go back into the workplace, there potentially could be new challenges for them, because they've been able to work at different times of the day and in a way that's less structured for them. So the challenge isn't over. And that's why it's so important to understand what motivates people at work and what, and how they want to be managed, most importantly.
Absolutely. We can't, we won't be able to just go back to how it was.
No.
We got to appreciate lessons that we've learned during this time and embrace that going forward. It's like, I don't expect to open the office 5 days a week ever again necessarily. We might open for 5 days, but I don't expect to see everybody for 5 days. I expect there to be a nice balance now between working from home and working in the office. So in theory, you're getting a bit of everything that everybody needs.
Blended, and I think the opportunities now that are created for kind of creativity and to do things different and better are incredible.
You took my next question, to be fair, which was, what are the biggest opportunities? So yeah, in your mind, what do you think the biggest opportunities are for, I suppose, for employers, for their employees coming out of COVID-19?
I think that without doubt, people have probably been communicated to more than possibly they ever have been. And so that's a really good thing, as long as we don't now lose it. So that's really interesting. And also, like, you've seen the MD of the business in the house. Or the chief exec, and you kind of, that it's now much more humanized, isn't it, in terms
of it's like, oh, that's
real
person.
It's just like, wow,
Absolutely.
So I think that's, and how are business leaders going to cope with that when they kind of go into the workplace? That's quite interesting. But I think, so one of the things that a partner of mine, Engagement Multiplier, talk a lot about is this COVID trap. And the COVID trap is that everyone, for the last 19 weeks has been really putting together and had a purpose. And so engagement in most businesses has gone up. However, when you take away COVID and what everyone's putting together towards, productivity could go down, and engagement, because actually, if you don't have a really solid purpose, and I know you and your business absolutely do, but if you don't have a solid purpose, once you've kind of got COVID out the way, then potentially there's a trap, and maybe your business isn't as engaged as you think it might be.
What do you think leaders can start considering now to help with that engagement as we move back into the workplace?
I think the big thing, which actually I think is always a big thing, and that's about empowering your kind of first line managers and making sure that they have the tools and time available to be able to take care of their teams. And I think that's often kind of the piece that's missing. So making sure that they have those tools is really important, and that they know the questions to ask, and that they have time to have one-to-ones with everybody, because everybody wants to be managed in a different way. We've all got different things that motivate us. So as a first line manager or manager at any level, we need to understand what's motivating our team, and manage them appropriately. And the higher you get in the business, you can't know about everybody, can you? So you need to make sure that you empower your kind of team leaders, or whoever they might be. So without doubt, and I think asking actually the whole workforce, what went really well, what lessons have we learned, what should we start doing, stop doing, continue doing, etc. Your people know the answers.
So for me, we did Motivational Maps. Was it this year? Last year? Oh my gosh. This year, wasn't it? It was early this year, just before. You know what? I feel like this has been a year of this. But this year, and it was great, and I loved it. And myself and the rest of the management team took a massive amount out of it, and it was very, very useful, and a great insight for all of us into each person in the team. But do you want to talk a little bit about it, and why you would recommend that people consider looking at a motivational map, and maybe why now, like you said, is maybe more important than ever before?
I would love to, because motivation junkie, remember, James?
Exactly.
For me, employee engagement, is one of the most important things in terms of culture of the business. But why do people go to work in the first place? And that's the piece where Motivational Maps comes in for me, and it looks at actually what's driving people. So yes, this kind of whole piece around why people want to be managed, but how people want to be managed. Some of us don't want to be managed, to be fair, if we're high spirits. And so Motivational Maps kind of identifies the 9 motivators in all of us, and looks at kind of how intense each of those motivators are, and more specifically, and this is the bit that's always really deeply interesting, how fulfilled it is. So at any time, this is really interesting, but during this period of kind of COVID and lockdown, actually, this is the bit that's really critical and important, because actually, if we're saying that security, recognition, and being able to make a difference, for example, is really important to somebody, and it's not being, security is really not being met, well, what part of that isn't being met, and how can I make sure that I provide the right environment for my team member to be able to do that. However, we're all adults, we all have to take responsibility for ourselves, and the only person that can motivate you is you. So my security is feeling not fulfilled at the moment, so what do I need to do to nourish it? What can I do, and what do I need you to do as my manager, so we can start to have really good conversations. And I would say it makes the invisible visible. So actually, nice. What might be classed as pink and fluffy by some, actually it's not, because we've got hard metrics now to say the level of motivation of this individual or this team or this organization is X. So you've got real-time data in terms of like a pulse of the business. So that should be on your KPI board without doubt.
So we're now going to move on to the bit where I've asked you to bring 3 items with you. Yes. So we've asked all our guests to do this to sort of celebrate the NHS and the essential workers, and the colour of the rainbow and everything that goes with that. Yes. So what is your first item, Cassandra? I'm excited. And what's the meaning behind it?
Okay, so I thought I'd make this a little bit more challenging.
Amazing.
So firstly, I'd just like to point out that my house is shades of grey. I won't tell you how many shades of grey, but it is shades of grey. So trying to find anything that was colourful was a particular challenge. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to try and find 3 items that relate to my 3 top motivators, as well as being colourful. And I'm going to try and link it to Norfolk as well.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing.
You can tell me if I pass or fail. So the first is blue.
Okay, lovely.
It's my dress. So this is my running top. And this is linked to my top motivator, which is around freedom and autonomy, which we've spoken about. And without doubt, and I've kind of already mentioned this, the one thing that has kept me grounded and positive and stopped me going insane is being able to run, specifically on the beach in Cromer. And I've been out once or twice a day, every day, either walking or running. And, our county is amazing, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It's my passion. Everybody knows that. I think we are so lucky, and I'm so grateful, actually. So I was moving house to the centre of Norwich before lockdown, and it all fell through. And I remember saying to the estate agent at the time, well, that's fate, now I see what fate was. So I'm temporarily living in Cromer, and there is no way I'm not going to buy in Cromer now.
No, absolutely not.
Why would I not be at the beach?
Yeah.
So for me, being able to run and celebrate Norfolk has been the thing that's got me through without doubt.
Second item.
Okay, this is exciting.
I'm excited. You've got me excited now.
So this one is, I think your lovely Alex Wiseman's going to like this. And I couldn't decide between 2. So I've got yellow and red, but I have got another red. So I hope you're not going to...
That's all right.
So now, for those people in the audience that don't know what this is a CD. For those younger listeners.
They used to make them, still do at certain stockists.
So these are 2 musicals. One I've been to with Alex. And this represents my 3rd motivator, which is around being in the limelight. And I used to want to be an actress, but that didn't work out. So here we are. I wanted to be an actor, didn't work out. Hence, now me and you just talking on Zoom on a random Tuesday afternoon, right, Cassandra? Great, isn't it? And the reason I brought these is because without doubt, the theatre is my passion. There is nothing I love to do more, and we have, I believe, the best theatre in the whole of the county. In fact, the whole of East Anglia. I've lived all over East Anglia, and I've always come to Norwich to go to the theatre. And I think that Stephen, at the helm of the Theatre Royal, is just doing an incredible job, and they are suffering so much, and it breaks my heart. And I just plead to everybody to kind of, if you haven't got the money to donate to them, go and buy some gift vouchers,
Absolutely.
And let's support these amazing venues that we have in Norwich.
And your third and final object.
Okay, so this is also red. So this is 12 year. This is linked to my second motivator, which is the builder, which means I want an above average standard of living. So it's about kind of being commercial and liking stuff. I like stuff. And so I have, actually, when you say what I've learned about myself, I have done nothing but read through the 19 weeks. And I've read so many books. I've definitely kept Amazon in business. One of the best books I read was early on, and it's the 12-week year, which I'd highly recommend to people, as you can see from my post-its there.
I read that a year or so ago, Cassandra.
Did you?
Yeah, it's excellent.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Just breaks everything down, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just, and what better time to think about a 12-week year than now?
100%.
We can't plan more than 3 months in advance, realistically, can we? So it's just such a brilliant book, and so it kind of represents kind of my business and the future, and kind of personal development also, which clearly is super important.
Amazing. What's the biggest thing you've taken from it? What's the biggest tip out of the book you've got so far?
I think that you have to be really committed to the goal, and so, as you know, I'm a practitioner of NLP, so I really believe in kind of goals, and that you don't write a smart goal, you actually write a goal as if you've achieved it, and what are you hearing and seeing and feeling, especially for me, when you're there. And that's really important, and that's the way that you can more easily commit to the goal when you feel like you just can't be bothered, or the other things are tearing you away. If there's actually a physical and emotional commitment, and it's very different.
Amazing. Cassandra, it has been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you ever so much. Really enjoyed it.